Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another live class with us for strategic management. And we are doing chapter number 2. My name is C. Arjit Sethi, and I'm very happy to have you guys on a Sunday morning again. I see a lot of you in the chat saying good morning on a Sunday. Good to see you on a Sunday as well, guys. Really means a lot that you guys are putting in so much effort on a Sunday. Congratulations for that. Hey, Bhumika, I see. Swati, I see. I see Soumya. I see Nidhi as well. There is Ritu. Hey Ritu, how are you? Hi Nidhi. Hello Soumya. Very good morning. We just wait for a couple of minutes, like 1 or 2 more minutes for people to join in. We'll give them benefit of doubt. But really happy to see you guys here. And I hope you have revised the things we talked about in the last session that we will be covering, and we wanted you to be prepared with that, right? Hey Kushi, hi sweetie, hi Ritu. Very good morning again, sweetie. Thank you. Hope you guys are ready with your coffees and cups of tea because today's session is going to be really interesting because it's one of my favorite topics. It's about talking about customers, talking about products, talking about competition, Michael Porter strategies. How do businesses really tackle competition? What's happening in the industry and how are people doing things? It's one of the most interesting and probably the best thing that businesses are doing. It's so creative, it's so competitive outside, and we're going to learn that today. What a thing. I'll give you so many real life examples, so many new things to learn today. So I am excited for this session. Hope you are too. Hey, Avni. Morning. See, Aditya is joining in. Great. Before I go and start this session, let us very quickly revise, right, what we did in the last session. Very quickly, in the next 5 minutes, we will just quickly brush up what we did. We are at chapter number 2. It's called strategic analysis. Chapter number 1 was around introduction to strategic management. We were talking about mission statement, vision statement, values, intent. We were talking about the 3 levels of organization. We were talking about the network between the 2 or 3 levels of organization. Who does what? Who takes decision? Who does the real actions? Where does the strategy get built? And who really puts that strategy into execution? That is what we were talking about. Today, we're going to talk about very interesting topics, right? Like I told you. But let's quickly revise strategic analysis. What we were doing last time. We talked about strategic analysis, we talked about strategy and business environment, right? And international environment. We also talked about why are companies going global? Why do companies really want to go global, go and start their business in Africa, in US, and Canada? Why do companies want to do that? Okay. So let's begin with what we studied last time. Number one was understanding strategic analysis. Okay. Now we started with an example of Netflix. It started with a DVD company, switched over to a streaming online company and became one of the best or top streamers in the world right now. Okay. Why? Because it did a SWOT analysis, it did a competitive analysis, and then it did a market analysis. SWOT analysis tells you, now listen to this very carefully. This will help you in every single answer you write or probably have an MCQ for. Number one is SWOT analysis helps you understand your organization or business. It is an internal analysis where you figure out your strengths and weaknesses, and it inculcates an external analysis where you figure out the opportunities and threats from the outside. Okay. Competitive analysis tells you what are the responses of changes, what are the responses of your competitors in the industry, what are people around you doing, are they increasing prices, are they changing their product, are they reshaping their organization, are they getting into newer markets, are they developing a new market, what is happening in the industry, in the competition, what are people actually doing as a response to the change. That was competitive analysis. And finally was the market analysis. What kind of products are being introduced? What are people actually, the customers, going deeper into the customer insight, going deeper into the minds of the customer was market analysis. So once a company does the 3 of these, SWOT, competitive, and market analysis, what happens is it becomes indispensable. When I say indispensable, it means it becomes so strong as a strategy because you have figured out everything. It's all about execution then, right? So this is where we started our chapter number 2 with strategic analysis, understanding your own business, understanding the industry, understanding your customer, understanding your competition, gathering all that information and executing a strategy. Okay. Then we were talking about when you do analysis, right? Like we were telling you, external and internal, where you figure out your vision, mission, goals, strategies. This flow chart, what we talked about in the last session, is really important. It summarizes strategic analysis in a very concise form. It tells you that external, internal mixed together makes your organization strategy really robust and strong. Okay. So remember this. Then we were talking about having a balance between the external and internal, and very important, risk. Okay. Everything you decide, every decision you take, every strategy you build will always have certain amount of risk to it. Why? Because there is uncertainty. There is an external environment involved. There are so many people, resources, so many external factors involved. There will always be a risk to what you plan. Things might not be as you want them to be. How do you adapt to them? How do you evolve with those problems? How do you figure out what's the right thing while facing those challenges, right? That's how the business has to strategize. And when talking about this, the things are uncertain, things are risky, things are not as they always will be. So what happens is your external factors might be not as you expected, right? The interpretation of the environment might be different. Somebody would have said this will happen in the government, but that did not happen. Somebody might be speculating that the GST rate will go down. It did not happen. So what happens when your interpretation of the environment in the short term is low? It's called short term external risk. The risk to your strategy is what you assume did not happen. In the long term, the risk with your strategy is the external environment became obsolete, which means it changed completely. You thought, so let's say, for example, a company today, a technology company thinking that everything will change, everything will convert to AI, right? Everything might not. There might be a newer technology which might even overpower AI. What happens then, right? That is where the long term change in environment becomes risky for your strategy. In the short term internal environment, what is the risk to your strategy internally? When you look internally, what is the risk to your strategy? Number one is the organizational capacity is unable to cope up. Your dreams are too big, but you don't have the resources. I want to build a factory for 10,000 phones every month. I want to manufacture 10,000 phones, but I do not have the resources, the money, the people, the space, the assembly lines. I don't have it. So it's a risk to my strategy. My dreams are big. My strategy is right. I figured out the competition. I figured out my analysis. My pricing is right. My competitor, I've understood. I've understood the external environment. I've done every analysis possible. But the risk is I do not have ample resources to execute the strategy. That's a risk to your strategy. In the long term, internal risk is probably things change internally. The CEO leaves, the team starts leaving, there is some problem, there is some cash problem, some litigation happens, something internally changes inherently, which breaks down the entire strategy. People who were building the strategy leave the organization. Resources no longer are there for you in the organization, right? The investors change, the market changes, the market price changes for your shares. So you have to reshape your strategy from being a luxury company to a demand company. Could be anything. When in the long term, internally something changes, that's an internal long term risk to your strategy. So your strategy will always have certain risks. Okay. Remember that. Then we took some examples and then we talked about why do you have to continuously underline the word for yourself, continuously learn about environment, your business environment. It's a continuous process. It's not like Today we studied, we made a strategy. We don't no longer want to study business environment. We already have a strategy. Who cares now? No, it's a continuous process because things will keep changing, market will keep changing, customers will keep changing, competitive forces will keep changing. Your competitors will be really creative around things. So why do you have to continuously learn about business environment as a business person? Is because one determines opportunities and threats, gives direction to your growth, continuous learning of your own business, image building for the customer that it's an innovative company which changes with time. And finally, it's about meeting competition. You got to beat, not just meet your competition to be successful as a business, to make more money, to attract more customers. Right? So it's a continuous process. Then we talked about macro and micro environment. When we say macro, macro means far from business. It's a wider purview. It's common for every business, irrespective of the industry, and it's very difficult to control. Like governments, right? Like taxation, like law, legal aspects, right? Environmental aspects. You cannot control those, and it's common for every industry across. While micro environment is something which is very close to the business, it's easier to control. It's specific to that business, like customers, competition, or self-organization, right? These are micro environment, which are easier to control relative to macro, closer to the business related to macro, and specific to your set of business. It's not like common to everybody. It's specific to your business. And that is micro environment. Okay. That is micro environment. Now, what are macro environment factors that we talked about? Very interesting macro environment factors we talked about was number one, demographic, right? Characteristic of the population, the market size, the trends that are happening, social culture, your belief systems, economic conditions like your GDP, forex, import, export, interest rates, profitability analysis may help, right? Helps in profitability analysis. Then we had the political, legal environment like power and influence, which government is there, ease of doing business in a particular country. We took an example of Dubai versus US versus North Korea versus India. Where is it easier to do business? That's your legal and political environment. And finally, we talked about the technological environment, things changing, skills changing, right? The talent pool, the resources changing. People are investing money in a particular segment. Would you want to continue with that segment or not? Okay. That's what we talked about. The tool to analyze your external environment was PESTLE analysis, right? We took example of Tata and Flipkart. And finally, in the last session, the last topic we talked about was globalization of businesses. Businesses going global, businesses going across the globe, right? A lot of businesses going to Africa, US, Canada, Singapore, going to Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Indonesia. Why are they doing that? Because more market, more resources, better prices, growth of the business, multiple factors, right? Multiple factors that take a lot of companies global. Some of the biggest Indian global companies on your screen, TCS, Wipro, Vedanta, Airtel, Reliance, across the globe, they have businesses, right? Because, and this is the reason why companies go global. Number one, because the domestic market might be insufficient. They want more customers, so more sales, more cash flows, access to more resources, more bigger talent pool, strategic alliances. They build like Tata Starbucks. Starbucks is a US coffee company, came to India in collaboration as a strategic alliance with Tata Enterprises, and it's expanding in India as well across more than 500 stores now in India itself. Think about it. 350, 400 rupees coffee has 500 plus stores in India. India is not a poor country. The kind of segment we are in now as a country, it's changing. A lot of global brands are coming to India, want to come to India. Okay. And with that, we finally, the last thing we saw was the analysis, which is international analysis. You look about your multinational, different countries have different analysis. Then you have regional analysis, and finally the country level. A broad analysis of the market, then region, then within that country. And all of this involves all the factors of macro environment. This is what we studied. So when you do a country analysis, you're in 5 countries, you do all the macro analysis of macro environment segments or components are analyzed for each of the countries. So it's a massive, massive task for companies going global. Okay, that is where we had our last session, right? Quick summary of what we have studied so far in chapter 2. I'll take a pause of 1 minute. Any questions, any doubts so far, put that in the chat. If not, give me a thumbs up. Okay, any emoji that helps me give confidence that you are getting the concepts right. Thanks, Avni, for the thumbs up. I'll wait for others also to give a thumbs up or okay in the chat. And then we begin with the next topic, which is understanding product and industry. All the sleepy people in the chat, you give me a thumbs up. Thanks, Preeti. I see one from Sweetie as well. Hey, Soumya, thank you. Bhumika's thumbs up is also up. Great. Swati, Tejas, Ritu. Cool. Okay. What do you see on your screen right now? Tell me. Have you guys noticed this? People who watch cricket, people who watch football. Have you guys noticed what's on your screen? Thanks, Pranjali. Good to know sessions are helping you. Awesome. Thanks, Kiran. Sweetie says smart band. That's a smart band for sure. Which company? Which brand? It's a smartwatch. It's a smart band. Okay, so Adi says smart band again. Do you know the name of the company? Do you know which company's smart band is that? Most likely not, right? I also did not know. Exactly. That's where this topic gets interesting. We know the product, we know the industry. Which industry is smart band in? Okay. Which industry generally we have the smart bands in? Band minded. Okay. Pranjali, microenvironment, we are studying microenvironment now. Product and industry, it's close to the business. We are studying microenvironment now. Which industry is a smart band in? Is it healthcare industry? Right? Preeti has given the answer after Googling the brand name. But which industry do smart bands? Sports industry, okay. What else? Electronic gadgets, fitness related, okay. Give me more things like which industry is generally a smart band part of. Okay, so we have figured out this is a smart band. This is a fitness band that most of the players are wearing. We really do not know the brand name. It's a new thing. But which industry? People saying fitness related, electronic gadgets, sport industry, healthcare, fitness. Okay, nice, very nice. Now, the thing is, listen to this very carefully. This smart band company, right, has created a product which has created sensation on the internet. You go to the internet and people are finding this smart band. Nobody knows the brand name, while the brand name is Whoop. Okay. Preeti had answered that as well in the chat. It's a company called US company called Whoop, which did not advertise ever, but the top athletes are wearing this band. Virat Kohli wears it, Ronaldo wears it, a lot of other people in the sporting industry are wearing it. You will see a lot of Indian cricketers. Now you see matches, right? World Cup is happening. A lot of cricketers, Indian cricketers, are wearing this fitness tracking band. Okay, no name, no branding, no advertising, just pure good product is how they have positioned themselves. Okay. Now, this is a strategy of understanding your product, understanding your strength, and figuring out what is missing in your industry that people want. Okay. Listen to this very carefully. What has this brand, this company done is they have understood their product. Figure out your own product first. What do you want to make and make it the best with the available resources? And figure out which industry and what are competitors doing in your industry. When I say industry, it means two things. One, figure out what is competition doing in the industry. Number two, figure out is the industry profitable and attractive or not. Okay, two things to understand in industry. Number one, what are competitors doing in the industry? Number two, is the industry attractive, that is profitable, a good industry, a growing industry, or a dying industry? Is it a growing industry or a dying industry? You got to figure that out as a business to strategize yourself, right? And then you figure out your product. What are you offering to people, to customers within who are looking for products in that industry? Those are two things that a business has to understand. And that is what this company has done. A very, very high growth industry of fitness tracking. People are moving to fitness. People want to track their metrics, their heartbeat, their recovery, their BPM, their SpO2, XYZ. People want to know a lot of metrics about their fitness. And this company is bringing a positioning a product by knowing what the customer wants, and they're building it best without any advertising. They're getting so much advertisement, right? This is what we call as understanding your product and industry. Let's get a step deeper into this topic. Okay. One step deeper. Understanding the product. Okay. When we say understand your product, what do we mean? Number one, there are two kinds of products. First, you got to understand when we say product, you got to understand two things about your own product. Number one is the tangible product that can be physically seen, touched, bought by people, and used by people. Like a car, like a book, like a mug, like a smart band, like a watch, like a phone, like a laptop. These are tangible products. But what comes within that product is something called as intangible product within the product or separately, like services, right? Like services attached to that product, or sometimes there are services, there is no product, but there are services like an insurance, like telecom, Geo SIM. Okay. Now Geo or Airtel are providing you some service like an internet service. If you're happy with their service, right, then you like the product. They are good at service, they're responding to your queries, there's less problem or no problem. That's how this industry works. Okay, so a product can be either tangible, like something we buy, feel, use, and probably touch, feel. There is something called as intangible product like services, like insurance, then Uber. Like in Uber or Ola, you're getting a service. You're not getting the car, but you're getting a service. How easy it is to book a cab, how the driver behaved, how easy what is to get to the end point, what was the price, did you feel comfortable and safe? All these are intangible aspects of the product as well. That is what you got to understand as a product too, right? Not just the physical design, quality, build, but the inherent intangible part of of the product is also important. Number two, pricing dynamics of the product. One, prices are either determined by the supply, demand, quality, marketing, and target audience. Okay, which means pricing can either be dependent on the supply. A lot of people are giving this product. So what will happen is the prices will fall because a lot of people are giving that product. Number two, it can either be on demand. A lot of people want that product, so you can charge more prices. It can be based on quality, right? Higher prices because you have a better quality, or lower prices because you're giving a substandard quality. Depends on where you want to position your product, understanding your product. Okay, I cannot give a substandard product at a 10x price of the market. Nobody will ever buy it, right? I tell them, oh, this is a recycled product which is used, which is made out of waste material. The life is only 3, 4 months, but oh, give me 10,000 rupees for this product, while market may you get it for 500, 600 rupees. Nobody will ever buy it. So you got to figure out your product's pricing dynamics based on the quality you give. Okay. Number three, marketing. Sorry, number four, marketing. Marketing really defines the pricing of the product. Okay. Now, big film stars, big cricketers, Bollywood people, they are doing ad of cement. They're doing a paint, wall paint ad is being done by Dhoni. Nobody cares if Dhoni is going and painting his house, a farmhouse with that paint or not. What they're doing is they're building awareness. They're spending money on creating awareness of their brand. That is marketing. And they will charge more money. They have to get that money back from you, right? We are the customer. So marketing also helps define certain pricing dynamics. And then we have target audience. If your target audience is rich, affluent people, you can charge any money. Like Louis Vuitton, you have then Burberry. These are big luxury brands, or AMS. You have small bags, 3 lakh rupees. A pair of shoes, 5 lakh rupees, right? Some jacket with LV written on it, 5 lakh rupees. Like, how is it 5 lakh rupees? They say our target audience is super rich. They can buy for 5 lakh rupees. So why not charge 5 lakh rupees? And people are buying it, right? So target audience also really helps you define your pricing dynamics of your product. Your product might be really good, but you can charge exorbitant, crazy amount of money if you know your target audience well, right? An interesting thing within this is, which a lot of businesses miss out, is competition. Now, competition, you can be the best in quality, do a lot of marketing, supply, demand, target audience, figure out everything possible you can do for your business. And finally, competition comes and says, hey, boss, listen, knock, knock. The prices that we are giving to the market are 20% lower than your price. Same quality, same audience, same amount of marketing, same supply and demand in the industry. We are going to give 20% lower to the customers. You're left with no option. Either you say, okay, I can't give any discount and I will lose the market, or you will also go and give a 20% discount. So your competition finally decides the pricing mostly. Okay. We're not saying that this is how it is, but most likely than not, your competition sets the prices in the market. Okay. The competition sets the prices in the market both ways. Okay. Now, this is interesting. If you understand this, this is also interesting. Now, a smart business person like smart business person like Samsung, what they did was, you remember Samsung phones were just 50, 10,000, 15,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees maximum range, right? 15, 20,000 was the maximum range of Samsung I remember when I was in school, right? The highest end phone was 20,000 rupees. Apple came in with a 1 lakh rupee phone. Samsung said, boss, my competition has set the market price to 1 lakh rupees, which is not a discounted price, but a price which is 5 times my general price to the customer. And the customer is buying at 1 lakh rupees because they're getting quality, because they're getting marketing, because they're doing target audiencing. They're doing all of that and they're charging 1 lakh rupee. So it's a benefit to you as Samsung. Your competition really helped you price a product at 1 lakh rupees. Samsung said, boss, I am going to introduce a phone at 1 lakh 50,000 now, even higher than iPhone, even 20, 30% higher price than iPhone, and people will buy it because now my competition has set a market price. So it can be beneficial also. So you got to understand your product and industry very well. And that is what we are telling you here in this chapter. What you learn in this chapter here is that understanding product and industry from a tangible, intangible product perspective, pricing dynamic perspective. Number three, the features for satisfaction. Which product sells the most? Think about yourself. What kind of clothes do you like buying? What kind of clothes do you like wearing? It's a personal thing, right? The features for satisfaction of every customer will be different. So product features satisfy consumer needs and impact the pricing. If you like a particular product, right, you will buy it irrespective of the price in terms of if it is within your range, right? You will have a range in your mind. So when you go shopping or when I go shopping for a matter, I have a range in my mind. So every customer has a range ki between 1,000 1,500 rupees I will buy. So the maximum range is 1,500 and you really like a product and that product is for 1,700 rupees. You would still go stretch and buy it if you understand it's a 15% higher price, but you will still buy it. Why? Because the features for satisfaction, the features of the product have satisfied you, have attracted you, right? And this is what the companies do. This is what you, as business, as entrepreneurs, as people, as strategists, as analysts of the business, have to understand that product features for satisfaction are really high and that impact pricing. If you're doing a stock market analysis as well, you would figure out companies which are really profitable are working on these things. Highly successful companies in the stock market. Your stock market analysis happens from here. Your own entrepreneurial journey happens from here, right? All these points. This is how powerful this thing, if you understand this, okay? You figure out good shares, figure out which companies are doing this. That's a good share for sure, right? Features are adjusted during development to enhance the user experience. Customer preferences change, things change, seasons change, needs change, wants change. So does product. Product has to change and enhance with the consumer experience. I cannot just be selling the same thing to the customer every single time. Washing powder, Mogra flavor, rose flavor, liquid soap, less foam, more foam, automatic machine powder is different, semi-automatic washing powder is different. Innovating, enhancing the features, enhancing the satisfaction of the customer, right? Changing the features, adjusting the features of the product is important. Number four, products are pivotal for businesses, which means business might have an organizational structure, might have a strategy, might have resources, people, talent pool, everything possible, right? But what is pivotal for them is the product. What is pivotal for them is the product which they sell. Okay, they drive production, quality, sales, marketing, logistics. Everything depends on the product. If the product is huge, like washing machines and air conditioners and refrigerators for a company like Samsung, LG, Whirlpool, the logistic cost will be really high. Their logistics planning will be really different. They will have to bring their products in big containers and trucks. Well, products which are selling small things like phones or very small things, small gadgets or small products, could be anything small. Their logistic planning, their logistic operations and strategy will be entirely different. So your product defines a lot of other factors of your organization. So understanding your product is really important. Okay. And finally, product life cycle. The guru mantra, the end of everything is product life cycle. Every product has a life cycle. You introduce a product, it grows, it flattens down, and it starts declining. Like everything, a product has a life. It cannot keep going for years and years and years. It will have to change. Take example of any product around you, and it has changed over years. It has changed drastically over the years, right? Every product has a useful life. USB, you remember? USB used to store things in USB, put it in laptops. Where are USB? Nobody uses USB today. You remember CD? Where has gone? Product life cycle. There was a time when people couldn't imagine world without CDs, right? And today, what's happening is we don't even remember CD. Okay, so that's how a product changes. That's how memory card, Preeti, absolutely right. I remember memory cards for 10 MBs or 100 MBs was like massive. Today, my laptop has 1 terabyte. I have external hard drive of 1 terabyte. So 2 TB is also less for me. And we used to do things in 100 MB. So things change. There is a product life cycle. Everything has a life. And that's what a product life cycle is. Okay. Anju, keep your serial kab tak aayega May 24 ka. Anju, keep this question to yourself for the last. Okay. We will answer this question at the end when we have 30 minutes. Ask that question, then remember, right? You have to ask this question, but at 9 a.m. Cool. So product and industry, tangible, intangible, pricing dynamics, product features for satisfaction. Products are important for business planning or for business strategy overall, and product life cycle. Everything has a life, and so do products. Okay. What goes up comes down. Product life cycle. Parle G product cycle is too long. People are still buying it, right? Certain exceptions always. Biscuit, cookies, but you would see what has changed over the years, Avni, is they're adjusting the sugar levels, right? I don't know if you remember this. Most of the biscuits or cookies available in the market, they've cut down sugar so much because people don't want really sweet biscuits now. They want light biscuits, right? But exceptions are always there. Like you would say, milk hasn't changed over the years because milk will remain milk. But the packaging, but the offerings have changed, right? Over the years, they have now the chas, the masala chas, Amul Masti Lassi. Product ranges have gone wider. But you're right. Certain products will have a life cycle in terms of it changes with it. There will be some enhancement, if not an entire change. See, USB and CDs changed or got out of business entirely, but certain products will remain in the market because they keep enhancing basis customer or industry. So their life cycle will be way longer because they are adjusting to the environment. Okay. So product life cycle means there will be a downfall. But if you innovate quickly, your cycle goes up again. So it's a cycle. It can be a wave as well. Depends on how smart a business person you are. If you keep innovating, keep enhancing the features, your product life cycle, when it declines, it will start growing again because you have innovated, changed, enhanced, right? And that is why your business keeps going. Classic example being Parle-G, Amul, right? Or companies like Maruti faced a lot of challenge. We'll talk about that in the next one. And then they recovered from it. Let's talk about that when we are in the next one. Okay. Two things to remember is what goes up comes down. And number two, customer needs more than what they pay for. You and me are customers. I will pay 500. I want services or product for almost 1,000 rupees. I am greedy. Customers are greedy. Okay. They want more than what they pay for. They're not satisfied with just saying, oh, boss, okay, I really don't need this. I'm giving you 500 rupees. You give me product for worth 300 rupees works for me. Nobody ever said that. People say, I'm giving you 500 rupees. I want a product which is worth 1,000 rupees. जितना दिया है उससे ज्यादा हमको चाहिए, right? The customer needs more than what they pay for. Remember two things. And with these two things, you remember there are two concepts. What goes up comes down is product life cycle. And customer needs more than what they pay for is called value creation. It's called value creation. Okay, getting more than what you're paying for. That is called value creation. Product life cycle, value creation, two important concepts within product and industry. So, product life cycle, what goes up comes down: introduction, growth, maturity, and then the business or the product declines. If you enhance, you continue. If you do not change the environment, you die. USB, CD, typewriter, everything died. Button phones, QWERTY keyboards, keyboard in the phone, out. Nobody now has a button phone. Everybody has a touchscreen phone. Okay. There will be an introduction, growth, maturity, decline. If you enhance and change, you continue. Classic example, Maruti. Maruti Suzuki, one of the most selling cars in the country. Introduction, growth, maturity, and now they started declining. Morris garages, Hyundai, Honda, this company, the Hector, and whatever, all the Kia and that and those, so many companies into the market now. But what they did, they said, listen, we are declining as a business, but let's enhance, let's shorten down our portfolio. Let's keep two three basic family cars. Let's keep a Baleno, let's keep a Grand Vitara, let's keep a Fronx XYZ, and we introduce Thar. Mahindra has a Thar, we do a Jimny XYZ, blah 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 blah. They innovated their portfolio, they created more interest in their segment as a company, and they're back to their normal maturity. Even if they're not growing, they're not declining as fast as they were declining. They are now more stagnant. Slowly, they will take the growth. Okay, because there's so much competitive pressure, you cannot really fight everybody now. The competition in the automotive industry is mad today, right? You go and you see there are just countless options in the market for you to buy from. So product life cycle for a particular product, okay, and for the company as well. Not just a product, but for the organizations also there is a product life cycle. But specifically for a product, it goes up, 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 and it goes down. Like Maruti Omni, the van you and me used to go in school. I just we all have you been part of that era of Maruti Omni van. They're no longer there, right? Only the old ones you would see on the road. No new thing, no new Omnis coming on the road. Introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. People are like, okay, it's an old car, not as efficient. We can have better cars, right? So the market declined, the customer moved on to a new preference, the customer moved on in technology. So the product died its death. Okay. That's a product life cycle. Now, when we say, okay, Pranjali, great question. What is the difference between maturity and decline? Okay, maturity is when you're at the peak of your growth and then you stagnate. I sell 1,000 pieces, I sell 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 55,000, 60,000, 61,000, 63,000, 68,000, and then I start selling 60, 55, 45. Maturity is not stagnation in terms of flat. It's relatively slower growth. Okay. So like I said, 5, 10, 15, 20, 35, 30, 60, 61, 62, 65, then falling to 60, 55. So maturity is when you're growing organically. You're not growing exponentially like startups. Aaj 1,000 customers, tomorrow 5,000 customers. That's exponential. That's a growth phase. Maturity phases, you have already pan India, you have 3 crore customers. To, tomorrow you have 3 crore 1 lakh, then you have 3 crore 5 lakh. Organic growth से लोग आ रहे हैं. More customers through organic growth. You're not growing like a rocket ship exponentially. That's a maturity phase. And then you decline, your numbers start falling. Okay. Coming to value creation or value chain analysis, what happens in value chain analysis? Let me give you an example of, let's say, if you've used Flipkart, Amazon, Meesho, Nykaa, okay, if you have used any of these services online, which you must have, you would have sometime in your life, the product is there, okay? You buy a product online, that's fine. You buy a product. What is that inherent thing that really makes you go to that website? The question is to you. Whatever website you like, you might like a Flipkart, Amazon, Meesho, Nika, Tata, New, XYZ, whichever website or e-commerce platform you use. What is that inherent thing beyond the product you buy? Product to किसी और brand का है. Product is something you're buying anyway, right? What is that extra thing you feel that this e-commerce company is doing this good, or I feel really nice about this particular X factor this e-commerce platform gives? What do you think? Service is okay, Preeti, but what service? कौन सी सर्विस अच्छी लगती है? What is that extra X factor service or feel or experience that really makes you select a particular e-commerce website? Yeah, I want to buy from X website only. I feel they are doing good. Avni says convenient interface. Okay, that's a good one. Convenient interface. Reputation. Refund is fast in Amazon. Only Krishna, right? Pricing. Trust. Customer service like Amazon. Okay. Topping on vanilla ice cream. Pranjali. Okay. Topping on vanilla ice cream is e-commerce is giving you topping on vanilla ice cream. They give free home delivery to of products sometimes. Okay, Ritu. Very nice. So inherently, as a customer of that e-commerce platform, think about it. As a customer of that e-commerce platform, okay, quality products, discount. As the customer of an e-commerce platform, what are you doing? What are you feeling? You're saying, I am buying a product for 300, 400 rupees. My basket size is 400, 500 rupees. And, and I am getting this thing extra. No money is charged, so I'm getting a refund quickly. My delivery is faster. The quality of packaging is nice. The delivery person who comes is more professional. More, I feel more secure with this company. My payments will not get stuck. The responses to my queries are fast. The quality of the products is better. The pricing of the product is better. All of that, right? An extra added value over the product is value creation. That e-commerce company, whichever it is of your preference, is giving you that one or two things extra beyond your payment. That means you're not paying extra for it, but you're feeling better like, okay, I paid this, but I'm getting this thing extra or better than others. That's called value creation, my friend. They're creating value in your mind. That's what a business has to do. And what you see on the screen is a company internally can create value from any of these operations. It can either be logistics, operations, marketing, sales, or extra services they're giving. Maybe the delivery is faster, the refund operations is faster, the marketing and sales is better, or the services they give after sales services, they are much better. And they do this with the use of primary activities. They are able to deliver this to the customer with the use of some support activities like use of technology, like use of human resources, talent pool, better engineers, better delivery partners, firm infrastructure, the organizational structure, ethics, values. They have a stronger firm infrastructure, the more procurement easy. They have optimized their purchase department. They have optimized their own resources, utilization of their own resources to deliver something extra value to the customer. And that, my friend, is called value chain. It's called value creation through value chain analysis. Primary activities and extra added value to the customer with the help of support activities, which means customer feels so much more satisfied. And when the customer feels satisfied, the product features for satisfaction increases and your product becomes stronger than the competition. Intertwined. Everything is interdependent, is interrelated, my friend. Okay. Many products at the same place, discount, post delivery services. Absolutely right. Quick response to the customer complaints. All of that is added value. You understand till here? Okay, thumbs up, an emoji, everything works. You understand everything till here? Great. I see thumbs up. Two thumbs up have come. Preeti's thumbs up has also come. Very nice. I'm looking at the chat. Really good responses. Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. All clear. Very good. Good to know. Cool. Let's go to the next topic. The person you see on the screen is Michael Porter. Okay. Now, Mr. Porter explained competitive analysis in one of the most I would say interesting ways, and that has become a benchmark of competitor analysis or what's happening in the industry, more like an industry analysis, right? Now, what he said was that there are five forces of competition. Michael Porter said there are five forces of competition in the industry. Every business in the industry has to understand five forces of competition. Number one is potential new market entrants, new players, new companies, newer innovative people will keep entering the market. Be careful of them. Number two, supplier's strength. If your supplier becomes powerful, boss, you are in a difficult position to do a business. It's a competitive force. It will force you to do better. It will force you to think better. It will force you to change the way you do your business. It will force you to create a strategy on your product, do more analysis of the environment, and figure out how do you win as a business. These are forces. If your customer gains strength, it's again a problem. If your customer becomes powerful, it might again be a problem to your business, my friend. Threat of substitutes. If not this, then maybe that. If not this, then maybe something else. If customer gets into a mindset of using a substitute of your product, your business is gone. Your business is gone. Okay. Rivalry of the competition. How strong is your competition? How fierce are people in your industry? Are people fighting like cats and dogs in the industry for the customer? Cutthroat competition है या everybody's like chill, okay, no problem, कुछ भी करते हैं, मिलके काम करते हैं. It's a friendly, competitive environment, or is it like cutthroat, मार काट मची हुई है, right? You have to understand these five forces of competition in the industry, and that is what this smart man, Mr. Michael Porter, he gave five forces of competition. Okay, let's get deeper into each of these. New entrants. Okay, when new entrants come into the industry, into the market, what do? They will come and they will bring some new products. They will push pricing. The customers will be attracted to new products to try something new, freshness, newness into the industry. Pricing will change, product styles will change, customer preference might change. Dude, how do you tackle that? How do you probably figure out ये करना क्या है? One of the biggest strategies to stop new entrants is called entry barriers. ठीक है? It's called entry barriers. One of the strategies to stop new entrants or new companies to come into your industry or into your business is called entry barriers. You put entry barriers, right? You put entry barriers. Frankly, that is what we are doing. We're explaining five forces with examples. Okay. Entry barriers laga do so that they cannot even enter, right? In all fair means, it's not about you go and dhamkao them, you put you buy them, you give them dhamki if you're a big competitor. No, 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 no. It's about putting entry barriers into your industry. How do you do that? Which is one, capital requirement. If your industry needs a lot of money, it already is an entry barrier. You and me cannot wake up tomorrow and start a cement plant. We cannot. You and me tomorrow wake up and say, "Oh, okay, we are seven, eight people. Let's go and build one of the biggest hotels in Dubai." Like, dude, do you have the money? I'm like, no, I don't have the money. So eventually, not a lot of people can get into that business. So MR is safe. So big property builders are have entry barriers because it's capital intensive business. So inherently, eventually, you are protected. Your competition cannot come into your business because you already have an entry barrier. You need a lot of money to do this business. It's an entry barrier. Not everybody would dream of coming into your industry. While businesses like FMCG businesses like fruit juices, biscuits, then achar and all those small edible products, everybody can open. You and me watch Shark Tank. Every third company is making something to eat. Like a cookie, like a achar company, papad company, roti company, drinks company, health drink, energy drink. They're just everybody can do that. There is not much entry barrier. Everybody can come and do that, right? And you can keep your products in a Reliance Fresh, in a D-Mart, in a Vishal Mega Mart, or wherever you want to, and they'll be happily putting your product because you are giving them margins as a commission. So they're happy doing that. So there are no certain restrictions in those industries, but industries with very high capital requirement already protected. Number two, economies of scale. If you have, if you have a lot of volume, right? बहुत ज्यादा क्वांटिटी में काम करते हैं आप, that becomes an entry barrier because your per unit cost falls. Avni, I'll come to your question, okay? Because your per unit cost falls. And why does it fall? Because your fixed cost remains the same, only the variable cost changes. Costing में पढ़ा है हमने ये. After a certain point, my fixed cost is the same. Only my variable cost changes with the volume, and thus my overall unit cost starts falling. Overall unit cost starts falling. If I have a room, I pay 30,000 rupees as rent, and if I have five people, my rent is 30,000. My per person cost for rental is 30,000 divided by five people, 6,000 per person. If in the same room I make 20 people sit, my fixed cost still remains the same. But now my per unit person cost is only 1,500 rupees. I make 30 people sit in the same room and teach them. My per unit rental cost is only 1,000 rupees. My room remains the same. My space remains the same. My rent remains the same. The number of people I teach within that room changes from 5 to 30, my per unit cost falls. Now I am only 1,000 rupees per person rental. So even if I charge a fee of 3,000 rupees, I make money. I make 3x the money of my cost. But if I charge 3,000 rupees, when my rent per person is 6,000 rupees, I will be in loss. So companies which have economies of scale, which achieve economies of scale, eventually create entry barriers for new entrants. because then they will have to come with volume. For volume, they need customer. For customer, they need capital in marketing, spend, product. That is difficult. Okay. Number three is product differentiation. iPhone. It's not like there is no Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, nothing, Android, Google, Microsoft, BlackBerry, Nokia. So many phone companies, but iPhone is differentiated. That's why it's an entry barrier for new companies to get into their segment. Number four, switching cost. Number four is switching cost, which means you make your customer habitual to your product. I am habitual to Microsoft Windows. I will not buy an Apple laptop. I use Chrome as a browser. I will not go to a Mozilla Firefox or a Safari. That's a switching cost that this company or this product has created for me as a customer, that I feel that, oh, I will have to go and learn that new product. फिर से पूरा सीखना पड़ेगा. It takes too much time. I will just not go and buy or use the new product because I'm so habitual to the existing product that I feel it as a pain and an effort to go and try the new product. That is called switching cost. If a business can create a switching cost, done. You are a monopoly. Okay. Number five, brand identity. Sometimes people really connect with a product. Nike sneakers, right? People are buying Nike sneakers. Nobody is buying Reebok sneakers. Nobody is buying Adidas sneakers. People are just buying Nike sneakers. Why? Entry barriers to the sneaker market by Nike, because brand identity. The film stars are wearing it, the sporting stars are wearing it. You look the coolest when you wear a Nike sneakers. You wear a Reebok sneakers, people are like, you're trying to be cool, but you don't have money yet, right? Brand identity. Nike sneakers have created a brand identity and thus created an entry barrier for any competition to get into that segment. Okay, that's an entry barrier. All fair means, but you're stopping new companies from coming into your industry. Distribution channels. Control over your distribution hinders new entrants, which means, right? If you have control over your distribution, Parley, HUL, PNG, Patanjali, all these have distribution channels which are across the country. Every single shop has their products. New company coming into the segment of Patanjali or HUL or PNG first has to figure out, dude, how do I make myself available in every shop in India? There are like 60 lakh shops. How do I get into every shop? Eventually, because of the existing HUL, Patanjali, PNG distribution channel, any new entrant will feel, yeah, boss, I can just compete with these companies. Their distribution is crazy big, right? So it creates an entry barrier. It creates an entry barrier for new entrants, the distribution channels. So entry barriers to repel or to not let the new entrants come into your segment: capital requirement, economies of scale, product differentiation, switching cost, brand identity, and distribution channels. Number two, customers' strength. Customers' strength. Now, customer will be powerful when there are three things that are happening. Remember this carefully. Customer will be really powerful if three things are happening. Number one, the product is of importance, right? Which means industry's product is not as vital to the buyer. Product's importance is low. Product's importance is low, which means I will not die if I don't have your product. The customer is saying you are not essential for me. If your product would have been essential, I would have really bought it. But it's not essential, so I will not give you the money you're asking. So the customer is more powerful here. because your product is not essential. Number two, the information. If the customer knows how much does it like how does it cost, how much does it cost you to make a product, they have information and they will exploit you. If they get to know, oh, okay, so you make this mug for 10 rupees, why are you charging 500 rupees for this mug? I will not pay you more than 50 rupees. You just make it for 5 rupees. I know it. If the buyer has information, then the buyer is more powerful. Significant spending, number three. If the buyer is one of the biggest customers for you, you will always be like, yes, boss, I will give you discount. Please don't stop business with me because you are my biggest buyer. Okay. Big companies buy a lot of products from smaller manufacturers. Why? Because they know we are the biggest buyers from this particular person and we can dictate terms. Okay. And we can dictate terms. Let's say a big company like Hyundai, it buys steering wheels from a manufacturing company somewhere in Jalandhar. Okay. Now, Jalandhar companies, 80% of the revenue comes from Hyundai. Hyundai can tell them, boss, listen, I am your biggest customer. I will not pay you money in within 90 days. I want a credit days of 1 year. I will pay you money after 1 year. Can this Jalandhar company say no? The answer is no. They will have to agree because 80% of the revenue comes from Hyundai. So now Hyundai is a buyer can exploit because they are doing significant spending on that manufacturer, right? Three factors: product importance, information the buyer has, and significant spending. Three things that if the customer has, then customer is more powerful. Okay. Venkat, all questions related to exam after we complete this, that is at 9 a.m. please. Okay. Everything related to how to solve examinations and exam related questions after the session around 9 a.m. We have 30 minutes for Q&A. So we will we will solve all these questions. So don't feel we'll not solve the questions, we'll not answer. We will answer each and every question, but we open Q&A at 9 a.m. Okay. Number three, supplier's strength. Supplier is powerful, right? They are more concentrated than their buyers. Okay. When the suppliers are more concentrated, right, than the buyers, which means that there are more buyers and less suppliers. What happens is the supplier has a strength. The supplier has a strength. So supplier is more powerful because less suppliers, more customers, we dictate the terms. Number two, their products are crucial to the buyer and substitutes are not available. Now, this is where the thing comes. Now, for the customer, if the product is very crucial, right? If the product is very crucial for the customer and the substitutes are not available, then what happens is the supplier has an advantage and they can dictate terms. Right? My product is essential for you. I will dictate terms. Number three, they can erect high switching costs, which means when a supplier has more power, what they will do is they will make sure you cannot go to a different supplier. This through services, through contract pricing, they will do a lot of these things just to make sure that you're not able to switch to a different supplier. Okay. So that you're not able to switch to a newer company, to a newer supplier, they will create that barrier for you because they are more powerful. Okay. Number four, and before we go to that, think about these two examples. On your screen, read it carefully and answer in the chat. In semiconductor industry, who has more advantage? Buyers or the manufacturers? Answer this. In the semiconductor factory, in the semiconductor industry, who has more advantage? The buyer or the manufacturer? The chat is open. Who has more advantage? Who has more advantage? The buyer or the manufacturer? Let me refresh the chat. Manufacturer, then say manufacturer, another manufacturer, less competition and market. It says buyer. Only says buyer, but manufacturers are more. Or manufacturer, buyer, both. The correct answer is that the manufacturers have an advantage. Okay. The manufacturers have an advantage. Why? Because semiconductors in the world are dominated by a very few manufacturers. Only two or three companies around the world only build semiconductors, and semiconductors are used in every single product or technology or digital product you use. Phones, laptops, watches, washing machines, ACs, Bluetooth, car, your motorcycles, everything possible which has some level of electronic setting uses a semiconductor. And only two or three manufacturers. One of those is the biggest. So Taiwan is one of the biggest countries which is making semiconductors. That is why you will see China wants to capture and do a lot of stuff in Taiwan, because Taiwan is the only country in the world which currently produces majority of semiconductors for the world. Now, India is starting to get into the segment and have started to manufacture semiconductors. Recently, the Tata Group is doing, Vedanta Group is also doing, right? But, but, but Taiwan right now has the biggest chunk, and manufacturers does have an advantage in this industry. Now let's go to the second point here. Okay, now let's go to the second example on your screen. In pharmaceutical industry, selling to international governments, who has more advantage? In pharmaceutical industries, the pharma companies selling to international governments, in this case, who has more advantage, the buyer or the seller? Who has more advantage, the buyer or the seller? Let me look at the responses. Buyer, buyer. Okay, everybody says buyer. Very nice. Kader says buyer, Preeti says buyer, 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 Abhi says buyer. Blah, 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 blah. Absolutely. In this case, in this case, the buyer has an advantage. In this case, the buyer has an advantage, which are international governments, because they are going to buy products in bulk and for years to come. They will have a 5-year, 10-year contract. and they will buy thousands and crores of units from these companies. So here the buyer has an advantage. So you understand the buyer strength and the customer strength now with this example, right? It's case basis, the buyer or the seller. Interesting, right? In semiconductor, the manufacturer was at advantage. In pharma companies selling to international government, even if pharma products are essential, but the buyer is at advantage here because they're going to buy bulk and for years. So that's called understanding the situation and then answering. Okay, cool. Rivalry amongst competitors. Okay, if 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 the rivalry amongst the competitors is very high, then it's not a very lucrative industry, to be honest, because you will constantly keep fighting with a lot of other companies. Okay, so industry leader kaun hai? You have to understand. You have to understand that industry leader. Who are the leaders of the industry and how big are they? Can you fight them or not? Is what you have to understand. Then you have to understand the number of competitors in the market. Is it huge? If yes, then boss, exit quickly. Okay. What are the fixed costs? Do you have to put up a huge industry manufacturing unit to be successful in this industry? Right? If yes, maybe this is not the right industry for you. Exit barriers. Is it easy to exit the industry? Like if you put up an industry, you put up a manufacturing unit, you spend a lot of time in innovation, and now you have to exit. So is it easy to exit, and is this easy to exit this industry? Yes or no? Figure out how easy it is to differentiate your product and how often are your competitors differentiating the products. That will define your strategy. That will define your strategy. And finally, the growth percentage of the industry. Slower growing industries are not as lucrative as industries which have a higher growth percentage. Okay. So slower the growing industry, the less attractive it will be. And more competition will be there because it's a slower growing, which means there is more competition, and that's why it's a slower growing industry. So industries which have higher competition has certain factors which are on your screen. And if these are there, it's better to exit. But is it easy to exit is what you have to analyze. The final fifth force of Michael Porter's five forces model is the substitute products. The substitute products. Now, substitute products pose a challenge of competition to your product, to your organization, and how? And how? Okay. The question is how. How they'll do that is one, the competition catalyst. They can unexpectedly intensify the competition for you. You might just figure out that people are selling a different product with the same usage, and now the customer is moving to that product. Okay. Then R&D investments. Industries where R&D investment is huge are more susceptible, which means might have more chances of having substitute products and thus substitute threats. Industries where there is a lot of innovation is happening will have more substitutes. So industries with a lot of R&D generally have more substitute threat. Okay. This is one thing you need to remember, can come in case scenarios as well. Price and profit limitation. Substitutes typically constrain the price and industry profit. So you cannot price a product with your whims and fancies if you have a substitute available. If there's a substitute available, then you're gone because you cannot now differentiate your product. Or even if you're differentiating your product, now there's a substitute available in the market that the customers might have preference for. So your differentiation becomes nil or reduced. Number four is identifying substitutes. It is very important for for the industry or people who doing business to identify the substitutes available of their products so that they can tackle those. Okay. Now, for example, real estate, insurance, bonds, right, and bank deposits are substitutes for common stocks affecting investment choices, right? For example, your real estate, your insurance, bonds, and all these are substitutes your stocks. Stock market substitutes a real estate. People might pull out money from stocks and give it in insurance or put it in real estate, right? They might put bank deposits as substitutes for common stocks, affecting investment choices. Okay. Now these are some substitutes which are available for people in the stock market or mutual fund have to analyze that boss, the real estate or insurance bonds, these bank deposits are substitutes, and maybe you got to be careful of what is happening in that industry, right? Maybe you have to be very careful of what is happening in that industry because those are your substitutes. Okay. Are we clear on the five forces of competition? And then we move to the next topic. Okay. Give me a thumbs up. Okay. Yes, no. And then we move to the next topic. Awesome. I see a lot of yeses and yes. Thumbs up. Preeti, you want one more example of customer strength or you want to share an example of customer strength? You want me to share one more example? You want to share? Go ahead and share. Happy to read more examples from you. So, Adi, one more example of exit barrier. Exit barriers again. See, one is investment, the other is customer. Okay, right? Or you want from me. Okay, so exit barrier. Another one I was saying where you are in long-term contracts with the government. Okay, sometimes companies have contracts with the government which are like 7 years, 10 years long. So it's difficult to get out of that industry even if it's not profitable. So these are exit barriers to your business. Okay, because then what happens is you are into that business, you want to exit, but you have a contract with a penalty clause. So now you are in a fix. How do I exit? Okay, that's an exit barrier as well. Example of customer strength again. So one is information, like you were talking about the semiconductors. Again, the strength of the customer can be when they have information, like I was telling you. And this can also mean, now think about it. I, as a customer, if I know that a particular company is in bankruptcy mode, okay, if a company is in bankruptcy mode, which means they're almost at the verge of dying, I will go and tell them, boss, I know you're anyway dying. You should give me more discount so that your stock clears. Now, a lot of investors and big investment banks, they figure out companies which are declining. They go to them and say, you are already dying as a company. So why not we just buy you at half the price? So the customer's strength here is the information. The investment banker, which is a customer or a buyer's strength is information that this company is probably going to die. Let me just buy it at a cheaper price. That is a customer strength. Okay. That is a customer strength. I hope this helps. Okay, very nice. Let's go to industry attractiveness. Let's go to industry attractiveness. which means which industry makes profit. Industry attractiveness, things to consider. Things to consider. What things should you consider when you're looking at industry attractiveness? Things to consider are as follow. Growth potential of the industry. How fast is the industry growing? How fast is the industry growing? Right? Is it growing fast? Does it have a potential of expanding to another level? Yes or no? Number two, current and future competition. What is the competitive landscape like? Is there a lot of competition right now or in the future will be that decides how profitable the industry will be? Driving forces, right? How will prevailing industry forces impact profitability, which means things like things like industry factors in terms of policies around the industry, the political aspect, the legalities, the ease of doing things in the industry. How are things shaping up for this industry, right? Those are driving forces. Competitive position. What is your competitive position? Are you the leader? Are you the follower? What is your competitive position in the industry, right? That will define the attractiveness of the industry for a business. Exploiting weak rivals. Are big companies exploiting the weak rivals? If yes, then maybe it's not lucrative for small players. Defense mechanism, right? Can companies or company which is within the industry defend itself against industry attractive factors? Is it possible that maybe 10 things are bad, but one thing is so good that you want to be in the industry? Are you able to defend those bad or negative factors of the industry with two good factors? Yes or no? That's industry attractiveness for the business. Risk and uncertain. How risky? बंद हो जाएगी क्या कल? Like TikTok, social media, right? Is it gonna get closed tomorrow? What will happen? The risk and uncertainty is very high. What happens in industries where risk and uncertainty is high? The attractiveness is very less. Will they stay tomorrow? Will we be able to do business tomorrow? I don't know. So with that factor in mind, when the risk and uncertainty are high, the attractiveness is low. Okay. When the uncertainty risk is high, the attractiveness is low. That is how you identify industry attractiveness. Understood? Competitive analysis through Michael Porter, and then basis those things, how attractive an industry is. We talked about product, we talked about industries, we talked about competitive forces. We just talked about how do you analyze if this industry is attractive and profitable for you or not. Now let's go to the next segment, which is customer. The customer is the queen or king, as we say. Understanding your customer is not important. It is necessary. इसके बिना बिजनेस नहीं हो सकता है. इसके बिना स्ट्रैटेजी नहीं बन सकती है. You cannot build a legendary business without understanding, reading, learning about your customer. There is no strategy if you do not understand your customer. Strategy will fail. Zero. The customer is the one you have to understand. क्या चाहिए? Price क्या चाहिए? Features क्या चाहिए? What do they want from your business? I want this from my business. Very good. Congratulations. But the customer doesn't want it. Who are you selling to? Yourself? No. So read the customer, right? Don't read yourself. Now, this is the same thing that happens in exams as well. We want to be the best student in the examination. Your customer is the person checking your examination sheet. The person who is giving you marks is your customer. Think from their perspective. They want a clear thought, well structured answer, which they can quickly read and give you marks on the keywords and the structure. They figure out this person knows the answer, has a structure, has a thought. marks given. Don't make it difficult for them to read your answer sheets. Don't make it difficult for them to probably give you marks without any underlining, bullets, no structure to the answer. Build your answers with a structure. They are your customer. Same a business. Okay. A customer is the person that buys the products and services. Customers are important because they provide revenue, and all businesses, we for customers, they die. They want customers, more customers every single day, by either by aggressively marketing or by lowering their prices to boost the customer base. But how do you analyze the customer? You analyze the customer basis strategic planning, identifying what they want, their target customer, their potential, their capacity to buy, assessing their needs, and aligning your products with what they want. It involves evaluating consumer desires through surveys, through data, through forms, casting customer profiles, and selecting segment strategies to create effective customer profiles. Old age people, young people, middle aged people, married people, unmarried people. These are segments. You tailor your products for each of the segments, and that is how you understand your customer. Okay. And once you know the customer, once you have analyzed the customer, then figure out the customer behavior. If I increase the price, how is the customer behaving? If I reduce the features, how is the customer behaving? If I increase the features, how is the customer behaving? If I stop marketing, how does the customer behave? If I increase marketing, how is the customer behaving? If I do this, how is the customer behaving? If I cut down on a particular important feature but also reduce the price, how is the customer behaving? Examine elements of the preference, their behavior with your strategies, and figure out the best match until you reach that golden combination. Understanding customer behavior is really important. Your strategies will change once the customer responds or behaves to your way of doing business. Okay. Understanding customer behavior is not important. It is very, very necessary. It is just not skippable. Okay. Customer analysis and behavior. Now, an interesting read here is, how does a customer actually take a decision? Customer decision लेता कैसे है? How does a customer take a decision? How is a customer taking decisions? Okay. Customer is taking decisions through this process. There is a process. External influences say, they watch an advertisement, their friend recommends them, the social norm affect consumer choices, like people are buying this, there is some halla around this product, there is some noise around this product, let's buy this, divided into marketing efforts and environmental factors. Externally influence hota hai customer. First, the customer is externally influenced to think about your product, and they start thinking, okay, I should also buy this. Maybe let's see whether I want it or not want it. Let me read more about it. Let me wait for a week and decide. External influences now create a storyline for the customer. Then comes number two, which is internal influences. Psychological factors like motivation and attitude shape consumer decisions. Now, internally, you feel, I can afford it. Maybe I should just treat myself. It's not that costly. Let me feel good about myself. Maybe let me build my lifestyle a little better. Who am I working for? What do I want from life? Maybe just go and buy that product. I will look cool with that product. Internally, you start building a storyline now. External एक आपको seed दे दिया, through advertisement, through peer pressure, through peer recommendation, through social media and social norms. They give you a seed. Then you start creating that story within yourself. Ki, I can go and buy that product. And finally, you reach a decision-making process. which involves, do I really need it? If not this, what else should I buy? Okay, then maybe I'll gather some information. I'll go to the internet, do surfing, Flipkart, Amazon, Meesho. यहाँ इतने का है, वहाँ इतने का है. Maybe this is, if I want a hair gel, maybe let me not just buy a hair gel. Let me just buy a hair spray, or I should just buy a gel. या hair spray लूं, or maybe let me just buy hair oil. What do I do? Substitutes हैं, alternatives हैं. I'm thinking, and then I make a final choice that let me just go with a hair gel, right? Let me just try this once. Okay. And this is how I make a decision. And after I have made a decision, after I have purchased it, now my behavior, my reaction to the product leads to a repeat sales or a lost customer. After purchase, so companies should not just focus on कि एक बार माल बेच दिया. The customer is not satisfied. They will not buy anything from your product. If I don't like a product of one company, I will not buy another product. कि ये वाला गंदा है, दूसरा अच्छा होगा. No, I will like the company is not good for me. Okay. So after purchase, the consumer reaction may vary, which leads to either repeat purchases and recommendations to friends, or just say like, I don't want this product. The company is bad. Okay. So this is a customer's journey of making a decision buying a product, from external influence to internal influence to decision making to post decision making process. Okay. Very nice. Very, very nice. All good up till now. And we move to the next one, which is the competitive strategy of a firm within a certain business field is analyzed using two criteria: the creation of competitive advantage and and the creation of competitive advantage and the protection of competitive advantage. एक तो आपको competitive advantage create करना है. You got to create something unique and valued by the customer, and you have to protect it. You just don't have to create it, you have to go and protect it as well. But how do you build a competitive strategy or a competitive advantage? First, you identify the competitors. First, you identify the competitors. Then you understand the competitors. Finally, you determine their strengths, and then you determine their weaknesses. Okay. You identify the competitors, you understand the competitors, you determine their strength, and you determine their weakness. That is how you build a competitive strategy. Okay. A competitor for a car making company, right? A car making company will identify certain competitors. Okay, I see a question. Give me 1 second. Let me read this question. In the chat, the question is now, okay, so we'll solve this. We'll solve this at 9 a.m. Okay, all the questions will be taken at 9 a.m. All questions at 9 a.m. Till then, hold on to these questions. Okay, Avni also has a question. The question is, internal influence involves only ourselves or anything else too? Mostly ourselves, right? Mostly ourselves. Internal influences will be more around ourselves only. Okay. But how do you identify the competitor? Then you build a strategy, you understand what their ways of doing things are. Then you determine what are their powerful things. Then you identify what are their weaknesses and you play on those weaknesses. That is how you build a competitive strategy. Okay. On your screen, on your screen is an interesting case study. Okay. On your screen is a very interesting case study of Zap Home. On your screen is an interesting case study of Zap Home. Read this very carefully. I'll give you 5 minutes, okay? Take 5 minutes and read this very carefully, and then we will discuss this. I'm going to pause here for 5 minutes, and I will give you 5 minutes to read it. It's a small one. It's very small, 120 words only. Okay. Go ahead, read it for 5 minutes and understand how is this company creating a competitive strategy. Once you're done reading it, give me a thumbs up, okay, so that I know we can discuss it now. But read it carefully, okay? I am still looking at the chat. Read it carefully, understand it. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Very nice. Great. Let's discuss this quickly. Okay. What is happening in this case study? Competitive strategy. Let's consider Zap Home. First, it specializes in smart home automation solutions. Okay, it's a company which is automating housing solutions or your bills and digital stuff and all that. Okay. Now, how is it identifying its competition and working on it? Number one, what it's doing is Zap Home is identifying the competitors. It identifies the smart home industry, including industry giants like Google Nest, Amazon Alexa, Samsung SmartThings, as well as emerging players like Wise and Ecobee. These are the competitors. So smaller competitors, new people, and large giants. Both are there in the industry. I identify that. Then they understand the competition. What they say is it conducts comprehensive competitor analysis to understand each company's product range, their market share, their pricing strategy, and technological advancement. They delve into customer reviews, industry reports, and market trends to grasp competitors' strengths and weaknesses thoroughly. Then they determine the strengths of the competition. They say Google's Nest integration of Google ecosystem, robust AI capabilities, it's a big winner. Amazon Alexa extensive third-party integration and voice control features. Samsung SmartThing compatibility with a wide range of smart devices. Additionally, the acknowledgement of wise affordability and Ecobee's focus on energy efficiency are the key factors. That is their strength. The weakness, while Google, Amazon have strong brand recognition and wide product, Zap Home identifies that the opportunities to differentiate itself through personalized customer experience is more. So these companies are making standardized products. Now Zap Home wants to make more customized product. Now, armed with this insight and information, they can go on to formulate a strategy of building a product itself, which they can go to the customer and win over the competition. That is how companies do a competitive analysis. This is what we just studied in theory. This is a practical thing of how this thing actually happens, of how competitive analysis actually happens. Okay. And when we say competitive analysis or competitive strategy, there is something called as KSF, key success factors. What are the key success factors? These are the factors that shape whether a company will be financially and competitively successful or not. Okay, KSFs are the factors that shape whether a company will be financially and competitively successful or not. Okay. Now, KSFs vary from industry to industry. The factors which define whether you will be a successful company or not vary from industry to industry, even time to time within the same industry. Now, if the industry is growing, more chances of you being successful. If the industry itself is dying, then less chances of you being successful. So the timing of the industry, your position in the industries itself will vary the KSS. Okay. Only rarely does an industry have more than 3 or 4 key success factors at one time. Generally 3 से 4 KSFs ही होते हैं. Generally there are 3 to 4 KSFs only. To answer the 3 questions, a company, a business, an industry can identify their key success factors. The answer to these 3 questions define your key success factors, the factors which define your success. Number 1 question is, on what basis do customers choose between the competing brands of sellers? What product attributes are crucial to sales? Customer को चाहिए क्या? What does a customer choose when it's not choosing your product and going with some other product? What is that extra thing they're doing? If you identify that, you will put that in your product and you will be successful too. Number 2, what resources and competitive capabilities does a seller need to have to be competitively successful? Is it better human capital, more better quality of product and quantity of product, or the cost of service and etc. peripherals? What resources and capabilities does a seller need to have to be competitively successful? Number 2 question. Number 3 question to identify your KSF is, what does it take for the seller to achieve a sustainable competitive advantage? Which means, how are you going to keep yourself at competitive advantage in the long term? 2 महीना 6 महीना के लिए नहीं. I'm looking at a competitive advantage for years and years and years, like Parle-G, Amul, Mother Dairy. These companies have had winning competitive strategies and advantages for years and years, long-term sustainable. How will you make your competitive advantage long-term sustainable? If you figure that out, that is going to be a key success factor. Understood? Okay, thumbs up, yes, no, whatever you feel like. All clear? Thanks, Sayanto, for saying yes. Happy to know that all clear. Thanks, Preeti. Thanks, Avni. Thanks, Panjali, Tejas, Soumya, Sumit, Ritu. Awesome. Preeti, thumbs up. With that, we come to the end of chapter number 2. Chapter number 2 is done, my friend. Chapter number 2 is done. Okay. Now, it's time for some good questions for you to practice. Okay. I have put a practice question on your screens. Take 2 minutes, read the question, the case on your screen. It's a case scenario, small case scenario. Read it very carefully. Read it very carefully. And then I have a few questions from the case scenario for you to solve for your practice. We said we will do practice. We are doing practice. Amid fierce competition in the fast food industry, Tasty Bites face challenges in differentiating itself through comprehensive market research and customer feedback analysis. They identified a growing demand for healthier alternatives. Understanding this as an opportunity for value creation, Tasty Bites revamped its menu to include a wider range of nutritious options, leveraging fresh ingredients and customizable choices. By offering healthier yet equally delicious alternatives at competitive prices, they managed to attract health conscious consumers and carve a niche in the market. This strategic shift not only distinguished Tasty Bites from competitors, but also fostered customer loyalty and garnered positive word of mouth. Through continuous innovation and a focus on value creation, Tasty Bites maintained a competitive edge, thriving in an increasingly crowded market landscape. Question for you is, the case is still on your screens. Identify which all topics from what we have studied so far, which all keywords and topics can you identify in this case scenario from what we have studied so far? Which all topics, keywords can you identify? Let's see. Identify as many topics and keywords as you can. I can tell you there are more than 5. Identify those, put it in the chat. Okay. One I have is product differentiation, value creation, value chain, market research, value creation. What else? Good going, good going. Comprehensive market research, customer feedback, product differentiation, value creation, SWOT analysis, customer analysis, competitive advantage, product differentiation, value creation, right? Target audience, range of alternatives, market search, customer analysis, competitive advantage, right? So many things within 10 lines, so many things covered. I've highlighted some things that I could identify. Differentiation, market research, customer feedback analysis, opportunity, SWOT analysis, value creation, wider range, right? Wider range, diversify, okay? Healthier yet equally delicious alternatives, substitutes, alternatives, carve a niche in the market, focused niche market. So focused market hai. Fostering customer loyalty and garnered positive word of mouth. Marketing, customer loyalty. through continuous innovation, right? Innovation as well and value creation. Nice, right? This is interesting. 10 lines can have so many topics. And here's a question for you. From the case scenario, there's a question for you. How did Tasty Bites utilize the concept of understanding customer needs to beat the competition? People are quick. Khada says, Preeti says, Avni says, I'll not give the option. Sayanto says, Swati says, Unnikrishnan says, Swati again says, by increasing prices, diversifying, leveraging market research, or by reducing portion sizes. Correct answer is answer C. By leveraging market research, right? Ritu, Soumya, everybody has given the right answer. Very nice. Happy to see that. Next question on your screen. Next question on your screen. How did Tasty Bites demonstrate value creation to beat competition? Okay. How did Tasty Bites demonstrate value creation, beat competition? Majority people saying option C. The correct answer is option C. By offering healthy menu options at competitive prices. Very nice. Another question on your screen. Question number 3. All of you are right. Fantastic. Very nice. Again, option C. Again, option C. By regularly introducing new nutritious menu options to cater to the preferences. 3 questions, 3 topics. You understand how the case scenarios will come. This is a case scenario. Identify the keywords, key concepts, and then you will see beat the competition concept of understanding customer needs concept, value creation, continuous innovation for competitive advantage. Same scenario, 3 questions, 3 topics covered very quickly, right? This is how the exam is going to be. And with that, we are already at 9 a.m. Bang on time, right? It's 9 a.m. and chapter number 2 is complete. And now we will open up the Q&A session. All your questions, bombard us with your questions and doubts and clarifications. We have esteemed faculties from the Board of Studies as well for any technical questions that you have regarding exams, regarding paper, regarding the questions. We're happy to answer that as well. Go ahead and ask your questions which you earlier had. Go ahead, ask your questions in the chat. The chat is open for you guys. Any questions, any doubts that you have, we're happy to take those. Thanks, Preeti. Really appreciate you appreciating me. Thank you so much. People who had questions earlier regarding exams, regarding question paper and how to solve examination, ask those now. Bhumika, no doubts. What a great class to be in. No doubts. Can you explain experience curve? Absolutely, we can. Experience curve is probably once. So think about this. When you start learning to drive a cycle, right? You first have those supporting tires. You slowly and steadily start learning. And when you learn, when you're very pro or you're professional at riding a bicycle, you remove those tires, you do stunts, you do cycling on one with one hand and all of that, right? You do that. And how are you able to do that is because that is experience curve. With time, with time, you become expert in a particular thing. With time, you become known to a particular thing, and then your efficiency increases. Okay, then your efficiency increases, and that is what happens with companies as well. As companies grow, their efficiency starts increasing because they become expert in that particular thing what they do, and that is become it becomes easier for them to do their business, and that is called experience curve. They become more profitable because they become more efficient, right? That's called experience. As you gain experience, you start becoming professional at something, and that becomes more easy for you to do. Things that become easy for you to do are more profitable because you are good at it. Okay, that's an experience curve. How to write pestle analysis and Porter's 5 force model, just like it is in your study material. Very well structured in your study material. Follow that structure. With the help of example, understand experience curve, I just gave you Pranjali. I just gave you an example. What are the minimum marks to pass on the whole group and for a single subject? As it has been for years, right? What has been the minimum marks to pass on the whole group and for a single subject? Let me ask this to everybody on the chat. Everybody is preparing for examination. Let's see if everybody knows this or not. The question is, what are the minimum marks to pass on the whole group and for a single subject? Everybody knows this or not? Let's see that once, Aditya. If not, then we'll tell you that as well. I just want to check if everybody is aware of that or not, which is a
Minimum
good, fair
40, sir.
question.
Minimum 40 and 50 single.
Thanks, Kiran. Thank you, Kiran, for calling that out. 40 for single subject and 50 for aggregate, right? You get 40 in one, the other one you have to get 60. That takes your average to 50. So your aggregate should be more than 50%, while a single subject can be more than 40%. Awesome. And I'm pretty sure you guys will do that. But don't worry. I'm very confident you'll get more than 60 in both the subjects. So don't worry. If you're stuck in a question, then what to do? Move to the next one. Don't waste time. Your time is limited. Move to the next one as quickly as possible. Don't stress. Come back to that question at the end. नहीं आता है, आगे बढ़ो. If you keep sitting on a question for so much long time, you will waste a lot of time. And once you waste a lot of time, what will happen is you will stress and you will lose out marks on questions, the answers you know of. So don't waste your time, move to the next one, come back after you have done all the questions and then solve it. Stress lena hai end mein. Don't take stress in the middle of the exam. Take stress at the end. Can you explain market stimuli? Market stimuli is things that are moving the market, things that are creating chaos in the market, that are creating action in the market, right? For example, new product, introduction of a new product, some comment by somebody. Those are called market stimuli. So Modi ji, if wears a Nike sneaker, that Nike sneaker will boom in a day. That's a market stimuli. An action in the market that causes disruption, good or bad, right? That is market stimuli. When will live learning classes for Jan 25 batch commence? Very soon, Swati. Can't comment on the dates right now, but very soon. Now, AI is trending. Absolutely, yes, it is trending. It is trending. It will trend for the coming years. Very interesting question from Soumya. Soumya says, how much marks did you score in strategic management subject? Full marks, Soumya. That's why I'm teaching. Can you explain procurement and value chain analysis? Absolutely, Pranjali. If your procurement purchase department is able to procure great raw materials at a good, very good quality raw materials at a very good price, that means you have great quality products at a very low or very reasonable price. You can actually deliver great products to your customer at a low price as well. So if your procurement is very efficient, so will be your pricing in the market, and so will be the pricing to your customer, and you can be really competitive to your customers, right? And you can be greatly priced for your customers. मुझे सामान सस्ता मिला, अच्छे प्राइस पे मिला और बहुत बढ़िया क्वालिटी का सामान मिला. I can pass on that benefit to the customers. And when I can pass on that benefit to the customers, I eventually gain a competitive advantage and I create a value for the customer. Customer will say, boss, this company gives great quality products at such a great price. I created value for the customer just because my procurement was great. That's a procurement in value chain analysis. If Samsung phone is coming up with phones above 1 lakh rupees, then why people would like to switch? Because it already has a market image different from Apple iPhones. Differentiation, that's the power of differentiation. Some people just don't want to buy iPhone. They're like, it's very generic and standard. Samsung is very customizable. Apple phones are not very customizable. Samsung phones are very customizable. एक smart pen आएगा, folding आएगा, the cameras are fantastic. You can customize the opening screen. You can change the text, change the theme, add any APK file in Android. iPhone में नहीं कर सकते आप. The OS doesn't allow you to be creative. It is very well defined. While Samsung is very open source, they're like जो करना है फोन के साथ करो, right? So it's again customer preference. They have a different target audience. They're like, you can do so much things customizable. Why do you want to stick to a standard thing? Switching costs from here, the cost or the inherent cost of switching to a new product. Okay, so I think about it. Think about this. You are using a particular, let's say, pen. I remember in school days or during examinations, everybody has a favorite pen. Somebody has an Ad Gel, somebody has a Pilot V7, somebody has a Pilot V5, somebody has a ball pen, somebody has a Reynolds pen. Okay, everybody has their favorite pen. Now, this is the switching cost that pen has created for you. A V7 Pilot V7 customer or person who uses that will not switch to a ball pen because they will have to relearn the process of writing with the ball pen. They will have to relearn, change their preferences, understand that how to use it, and they're like, "nahi, bas nahi karna mujhe. I just want to stick to what I do. I just want to stick to this particular thing. I don't want to change how things are." That is called switching cost. The switching cost is not a monetary cost. It's an psychological cost for the customer to change and relearn and redo things. And customers don't want to put that effort. They're like, "क्यों करूं मैं?" Right? And that's where the brands and products play. That is called switching cost. Defense mechanism. Ritu, what is defense mechanism? Defense mechanism is something that protects you from the bad things that are going to happen. A defense mechanism is basically for businesses like plan B is a defense mechanism. Strategic analysis is the defense mechanism because it prepares you for uncertainty. We are talking about external environment. We are talking about risks. We are talking about long-term risk. We are talking about short-term risk. We are talking about risks and uncertainties and external environment. It is preparing the business for defending itself against the unknown of the environment. It is called defense mechanism. A business thinks that probably my strategy, I have analyzed that today if I build this product, let's say a particular cloth material, tomorrow the fashion might go out. So I have already done a contract with somebody who would buy waste material from me. आज बैठ के today, if I do a contract after 1 year, I will sell all my waste cloth material to this particular person at this price. That's my strategy. That's my defense mechanism. That's my strategic analysis. Because I know after 1 year, the fashion will change. I will have to rule out this cloth material. That is my defense mechanism. I am defending myself against the unknown. But because I've analyzed basis trend, basis study, basis customer, basis industry, I know something, right? And I create a defense mechanism for myself. That is a defense mechanism, which is through strategic analysis, is what we just studied. Good question. Go ahead. We have 15 more minutes. Ask your questions. Sometimes a lot of students feel that the difference between probably how do questions from Michael Porter come, right? Most of the times we are asked about like how do questions from Michael Porter strategy or a customer understanding, how will the questions come from these? Because these are very generic theoretical concepts. How will questions come from these? I just gave you one example, like we did the case scenario. That is an example of how the questions will come or can come, right? It's not like the questions cannot come from these topics, and very smartly drafted questions will come, and they have always come if you go and practice more questions. For example, in Michael Porter, there would be a case scenario which will talk about threat of substitutes and how a company worked on the alternatives, right? What were the threat of the substitutes, and how did a company particularly created entry barriers so that new companies cannot come. Great. I see things in the chat. Does entry barrier of capital requirement is helpful in the long run also? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. In the long run also, see, capital intensity will only increase. ऐसा नहीं है कि capital requirement कम हो जाएगी. Capital requirement will only increase, especially in growing economies which are growing like India. Let's say infrastructure in India is growing massively. It's not like today, if somebody cannot enter a steel or a cement industry, they will be able to do it after 10 years. After 10 years, the existing players would have also expanded and multiplied, right? तब भी वो entry barrier ही रहेगा. So in the long term as well, Avni, it's going to stay. Can you please explain why does RBI ask Paytm to stop its banking operations? Again, that's a legal thing. That's a legal environment. Great question, Aditya. Why, you can go and read on the internet, but there are certain complications, okay? Because public money is involved, and these companies which really don't share their data with. So if you know, Paytm was invested from China, okay? So China had invested money, and you cannot really, as a company which has inherent relation with another country, right, which is not in good relationship with your country, you can't allow them to have public money. Paytm used to hold like crores and thousands and crores of rupees of Indian public money, and Chinese investors had access to that. So that's not a good position for a country to be in, right? And that's why RBI took some challenges, and that's a legal environment. That's how legal environment impacts your business. Awesome. I'll wait for 5 more minutes for any questions. While I was discussing about how questions generally come, right? Questions might also come from topics which might look very dull, like chapter one has objectives, right? Like chapter one has objectives, right? And those objectives generally, what will happen is generally those topics will come in. Okay, those topics will come in generally with very specific set of keywords. Like objectives have to be measurable, bound by time, have to be challenging. You have to figure out those keywords, and the case scenario will very interestingly have a line that the company particularly created an objective with a very loose timeline. There was no timeline as per, or probably it was not very well structured. Is it a good objective to be in? Now the questions can be around objectives also, and the key factors of objectives, key characteristics of objectives as well. That is also one thing the questions can be around. Okay, so that is how things are in terms of questions from topics. You feel कैसे आएगा question. The case scenario can have any topic. So you got to be very careful with the keywords, the bullet points that you have in the study material. And as I say, please do not skip the study material. You cannot, there is no substitute to study material. You have to go study that, practice questions at the end of the study material. You have questions we discuss here, ask your doubts here, prepare yourself well before the session. Like the next session is going to be chapter number 3. You know it. You know it. Chapter 2 khatam hua aaj. The next is chapter number 3. Come prepared. Read chapter number 3. Come prepared and then ask good questions. Your questions are really good today as well. I'm not saying the questions are not good. They're fantastic questions. They're very good questions, right? Ask more such questions only, and you ask it when you're curious and you're prepared. So prepare well before the sessions as well. Okay. Can you explain industry leader in nature of rivalry in the industry? Yes, absolutely. So when there is a rivalry of, there's stark rivalry in the industry, the companies really need to understand who are the leaders. बहुत ज़्यादा competition है, but you really need to know who are the leaders and can you fight those leaders or not, right? First, identify who are the leaders in the industry, and then you figure out, can you really compete with them ever or not? If yes, go and do that business. If you feel no, 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 they're too big, very, very tough to beat them, maybe be conscious. Which brand does your watch belong to? Okay, you got to figure that out. That's interesting. And you're a repetitive customer. If why? I'm not a repetitive. This is my only watch I have. I'm not a repetitive. Next time I buy, this is going to be a repetitive customer. This time I only have one. MCQ 2 of study material. Preeti, give me that question. Otherwise, I have to open the study material, go and figure out question MCQ 2 for you. And like we always say, the sessions are not the only place you can ask your questions. Ask Me Query is a portal for you. On the portal, you can go and ask a query. Use that portal. It reaches us. We'll make sure we answer all your queries well within time. The institute is with you for the preparation. It's for you, by you, and of you, right? So use all these things, all these facilities that have been provided, that are being made available to you guys. Use it to the fullest. Use it, right? Earlier, we used to have nothing. I remember I used to mail my queries. There was a mail ID at the beginning of the study material. I used to mail that query, and then the response used to come after 4 or 5 days. And then, or maybe it used to, maybe because at that time the technology or the computers weren't as common, right? In terms of people were not used to mailing so much. Like it was still there. I'm not so old, but again, today you have that facility, so go and use it. Competitive landscape requires the application of competitive advantage, competitive strategy, competitive acumen, competitive intelligence. Very nice. Preeti, what do you think first? I want to know your thoughts and then I will share my thoughts. What do you think is the right answer and why? Also, give me why. What do you think and why? And then I'll give you my thoughts. Good, Swati, you got to know you're democratic. Absolutely, you are. Once you become a member, you have the power to elect CA Council, right? There are elections, there are legit elections to select the president and council members. And as members, once you become a chartered accountant, you go and vote. It's a democratic institute, right? There are elections. Bakaida, there are elections. You will receive SMS, you will receive all the pamphlets and all these prospectus, election papers. There's ballot system. You go and put your vote in a ballot. सब होता है. Become a member soon. Study hard. Become a member soon. It's very interesting. Competitive landscape means analysis of market and customer. So I think it will be option B. Competitive strategy. Okay. Now, when we say competitive landscape, okay, competitive landscape, okay, they also explain option C meaning. Let me first explain all the options and then I'll tell you. So competitive advantage first is unique and valuable to the customer, competitive advantage, okay. Competitive strategy, understanding the customer, understanding the things around. Competitive acumen, how well do you understand the competition? Competitive intelligence, how smart are you to understand? So competitive strategy, right? ही use करोगे आप, acumen use करोगे, intelligence use करोगे. What will you use? The question is application of, right? The application of C is competitive acumen. What is acumen? Acumen is your inherent knowledge, right? Your inherent knowledge of competition. तो क्या use करोगे? अब बताओ. Now you know all the options. What will you use? What will you use? Absolutely. The question, the option is D. Why? You know why the option is D? Because you are right, but you're not picking up one point, which is application of. Application of. Strategy की application कैसे होगी? Application is means usage of. You cannot use a strategy. You can make a strategy. You can implement a strategy. You cannot apply a strategy just for competitive landscape. Competitive landscape is कौन competition है मेरा. To understand who all are my competition, आप पूरी strategy नहीं बनाओगे. What you will do is you will use your intelligence. Okay, this person does this product, this size, this is the size. The competitive group mapping, the bubble chart, you remember, competitive landscape is the bubble chart, big, small, size and variety of products. That is competitive landscape. You will apply your intelligence, apply application of, you will apply your intelligence to know who all are my competition. So the word application should rule out advantage and strategy altogether. Advantage भी हट जाएगा, strategy भी हट जाएगा, because you can't apply these two things. You might get confused between acumen and intelligence. Okay, acumen is an inherent thing. For landscape आपको acumen नहीं चाहिए. The knowledge of your competition generally will landscaping के लिए नहीं चाहिए. वो competitive advantage बनाने के लिए you will need that acumen. But for landscaping, figuring out who are the competition, you need your intelligence. Intelligence raw agent होते हैं. Intelligence निकालते कि कहाँ पे कौन सा देश में terrorist बैठा है. That intelligence, landscaping of your competition. So that's the application of competitive intelligence. Okay. If the application word is not used, then some word will be used. So let's say competitive landscape requires what? It eventually requires identifying the competition. I hope that helps. How many marks will MCQ carry in subject in particular, since it is a combination of both SM and FM, right? I will let Ruchi ma'am, if she's on the call, to help with that answer on the technical thing. Or maybe let me put that query on Ask Me query, and we can share that to you as well, Swati or Soumya, right? How to remember so many points of each topic in SM. Read, read, read. Welcome to the student life. You have to read so much. This should be your life for the next 6-8 months. Because after you become a CA, it's very hard to read. So read as much as you can now. So I'm going to put that question and Ask Me query, okay? Do put that question and Ask Me query. Great. I think we're well on time, and it's already 9:28, 27 for me. Let's wrap up for today. Okay. Let's thanks everyone for joining in. Prepare for chapter number 3. Come prepared. All your queries are answered here. If anything is pending or you remember, put that query in Ask Me query, and we'll be happy to reply as soon as possible. With that, prepare well. Wish you the best, and let's see you next week with another interesting chapter, chapter number 3. I'll bring more examples for you. So be tuned. With that, thanks for joining on a Sunday. I'll see you next week, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Kiran. Thank you
Have a good
all.
day, sir.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye. Yes, Miss G. Thank you. Good day. Thank you.
Recording stopped.